Hey everyone out there in YouTube land, this is Jake Jaboreli of Jaboreli.com. Just a bunch of referral links. So I wanted to do an update on passive income investment opportunities, or high yield investment. These are a little bit more muted than the ones I did like Speedbit and Gold 8. These ones don't promise nearly as much money, but it's still not terribly amount. 1%, slightly less than 1% a day. They seem to be a little bit more sustainable. They're less likely to disappear on a whim, and I think the prime example here with Fundamentally Global is their record here. Almost a full year online. That's actually quite respectable, and I will say that in the beginning, 2 months ago, I was very suspect of all of these systems because they paid, or at least promised to pay, far more than any of the standard banks in the world tend to pay. Like, they pay a lot more than typical cryptocurrency banks. The best I've ever seen from any big billion-dollar bank that exists right now, I think, is Crypto.com. They pay out nearly 20% annually. Fundamentally Global pays as much as 420% annually and as little as 350. That is a lot more. They pay more than in a week than most investment companies do in a full year. So on average, 50 times more money. But I want to make a comparison between Fundamentally and Passive Expert rather. Fundamentally is promising somewhere between 1 and 1.2% daily, although they pay it on a weekly or monthly basis. And Passive Expert started a little bit higher. I think they started out at 1%, but they never guaranteed 1%. They just said somewhere between 0.5% and 1% daily, which is definitely less than what Fundamentally is offering. I don't know exactly how many people are participating. I don't even know if you can find out how many people are participating, although I guess I could just go back through this and show. But you can see here, at least with Passive Expert, that they're paying. This is a record of who they've paid, how often they've paid, people who've taken their money out. And then back here on Fundamentally Global, it shows, recruiting, countries, and then how much money they've lent. 180 Bitcoin. That's a lot. That's not nearing up on $2 million US. Quite a bit. I will say that's rather impressive. Yeah, I'm not going to go into why, but I think you get the point. What I really want to talk about here is the difference between what Fundamentally Global offers and what Passive Expert offers. It's a math equation concept that is uncommon, at least an uncommon way of paying. The method that they technically both use this method, but Fundamentally's method is slightly different. And I want to show what that means, and kind of just do the simple math for each one of them to give you an idea of why Fundamentally Global is better, not just because it's bigger, but because of, and not just because it's slightly more percentage, but because of what you can effectively get out of it. Although there is an active thing, you have to participate. As soon as your plan ends, you have to go back in and reinvest if you plan on doing that at all. But they do allow it. With Fundamentally Global, the turnaround, as I said before, and it hasn't changed in the 2 months I've been participating with it, it's still a 10 weeks turnaround to double your money. So whatever you put in, you'll get twice as much out in 10 weeks, which I don't even have to say really at this point is an unbelievably high interest rate and unbelievably high ease of making money. Passive Expert is slightly different. So let's go over how that works here. I don't think I actually have Passive Expert showed up here, but let me just do the quick math to give you a simple idea. So in my account, my actual payback here is paying out somewhere between 0.8% and 0.7%. So let's round it to 0.75%. I'm going to start with Passive Expert to do that. I only put $10 down, but I'm going to use a larger amount to show a different value so it doesn't seem like it's pennies, but it literally is. I'm making 75 or 0.75 cents. no, 7.5 cents per day, which is, it's still good, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's 225% annually, which is exceptional, but 225% annually is all you'll ever get. You'll like, oh, let me just do the numbers. So times 0.75, percentage, pardon me, percent. So if you had a Bitcoin, I'm rounding, in Passive Expert, they would pay you $75 a day for that money, on average, somewhere between 0.7 and 0.8. So you get 75 in your account, 75, 75, 75. So in a year, it's not cumulative, it's not compounding, which technically isn't what Fundamentally Global does either, but what most banks typically do is they compound your interest. So times the total number of days in the year, so you end up with $27,375 out of 10,000, assuming you started with that number. So that's 273% of the original investment. But if it were a compounding total, it would get there much faster. Now, I can't do the complicated calculation on a calculator. Unfortunately, that's just not that easy to do. But with this simple loan calculator system, I can do that. So we're going to say if it was actually 225% in 6 months, or pardon me, a year, not 6 months. We can ignore this subtraction and just talk about what you gain. If you put a Bitcoin roughly down, your cumulative or your compound amount would be 66,000, not, as I said before, 27,000. That's what compounding does. It adds interest to your interest. So as you make money, you make more money, which is the reason people love compounding interest. Honestly, I'm sure there's some banks out there that would prefer to never have to do that, but then they would have to give up their interest in other things. So the reason everybody does it is because everybody likes it. But Passive Expert doesn't do that. They only give you a flat amount. They don't compound your interest. If you want to do that, you'd have to take the money out and put it back in again. And even then, technically, you wouldn't get more than that. You can't compound it with Passive Expert. That doesn't work. As far as I can tell, there's no way of doing that. So what I want to compare it to is what Fundamentally Global allows you to do with their plans. They give you 107% or 107.6 or 108%, but the point is somewhere around 1% per day. Well, in this quick return example, that comes out closer to the bottom of 365%, upwards of 416%. Now, like I said, just ignore these subtractions, because this is just trying to compare the loan concept. I made a video about this before. So if you put 10,000 in with compounding interest into a format where you're going to get money for your money, then you'll get a lot more money back with the compounding interest method. So if you're, as I said before, if you're going to do 10,000 without compounding, or 10,000 with compounding, or whatever the amount is. Let's say you did 10 instead of 10,000. It's still going to be significantly more than if you had not done the percentage compounding, or pardon me, just the compounding you just paid out. So, as I said before, it would be 27,000 with Fundamentally Global, pardon me, with Passive Expert, because it's a flat rate every day, no compounding. But with Fundamentally Global, you can do a great deal large money, so a larger amount of money. So does that mean that I am promoting Fundamentally Global finally? No pun intended? Yes, actually I am. And even though I have only started out with a relatively small amount, about $100 US in Fundamentally Global, it's paying. It's consistently paying. Now, in order to get that money out, you got to wait 2 weeks. You can say, give me my money back, and then you can take the deposit. It still takes 2 weeks to get it out. And that's actually somewhat true of Passive Expert. I believe it's 10 days to get it out. So they don't really want to give up the money. I can understand that, because the more they keep, the more they can invest. But the point I'm trying to make is that in these high yield investment programs, which aren't as crazy as that of Speedbit, which I think was like 2100% annually. Even when they cut it down, it was still 1500% annually. And then they changed it and wiped out all that money and said, oh, you can keep giving us money. And I was like, I don't. That's the greatest way to just get me to not want to work with you anymore. So starting over, just taking the money and saying, oh yeah, that money before doesn't count. You can give us more money. You're lying. So the people who are involved in this program seem to be like these guys like CryptoTiwi here and Whale Miner, who are two YouTubers. They are both making money off of this, quite a bit more than I am. And here's Whale Miner again. He's still doing quite well. They're proving that Final Minting Global is functional, and I know they just came out with another website, like it was called Final Minting Main, doing basically the same thing. So it must work, whatever their techniques are, secretive as they may be, seem to be paying. And that's not just a one-time pay, it's a multi-time pay. It's pay and pay and pay and pay. So it seems like a good idea. I'm still just the tiniest bit skeptical, because if for some reason they disappear in another year, I won't get the money back. But I mean, I guess you could compare that, as I have said in previous videos, to Bernie Madoff, which was doing a pyramid scam right under the noses of SEC in the United States. Yes, he stole literally billions of people's dollars, and he went to prison for it, and I believe he's still there in prison. So yes, there are scams, even ones that look legit, but this one so far has proved itself legit. It's not like I'm giving him all my money and expecting to be able to pull it 30 years from now. If Final Minting Global is around in 30 years, I will be really impressed, and I will be a millionaire. Yeah, I just wanted to say that Final Minting Global is legit as far as I can tell, and its payment structure is compounding based, or basically compounding, whereas as the contrast lies with passive effort, it's not a compound, it's just a flat rate every day. So passive, and they also don't pay as much. It takes longer I think it's 4.5 months to get double your money out, but then you'll only ever get, I think, 3 times what you put in, whereas Final Minting will do a lot more than that. So I am recommending officially, withdrawing my previous statements about Final Minting Global, that Final Minting Global is a functional tool and does actually work as of right now, and seems to have been. You can see by the listing here that I've been doing it for 2 months, and I'm still currently doing it. So check out the video, check out the link if you want to join, and I will probably make another video about how all these plans work, but I'm perfectly happy with recommending you to both CryptoTiwi and Whale Miner, who have a lot more information about this. They obviously are people who believe in this platform and have proven that it works. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.